Have you ever felt drained after therapy? I'll bet you have. I'll share my thoughts on why that is and also how to avoid feeling drained from therapy. Hi, I'm Justin Sinceri. I'm a therapist and coach who helps you live more calmly, confidently, and connected without psychobabble or woo-woo. Welcome to Stuck Not Broken. This podcast is, of course, not therapy, nor is it intended to replace therapy, so don't expect this to be therapy. I don't like social media. I don't like using it. I don't like going on it, but every now and then I will dabble in it because, well, I'm running a business and, it's a business thing, I guess. And so when I dabble in social media, I am instantly reminded why I dislike social media so much. Regardless, I saw a great question from somebody about therapy and about feeling drained when I was perusing threads. So I don't doubt, actually I'm pretty sure that many people feel drained from therapy. That's not my goal as a therapist or as a coach even. I prefer my clients to leave my office or a virtual session feeling uplifted and energized. I consistently ask clients how the session impacted them, and I ask for feedback at the end. And usually they say they feel some level of relief or listened to, motivated or clarity or unstuck. Every time, no, probably not. I can really only recall one session where the client left with probably feeling something like drained. And I'll tell you more about that later on in our episode here. That's all I can recall. I'm sure there's more, but that's what came to mind as I was writing this. While it's possible to feel drained after therapy, and many people do, it's less than ideal. In fact, that feeling of being like completely wiped out could be a really important signal from your body. It's likely telling you that you've gone beyond your body's capacity, that you've pushed too far or too fast without a clear and intentional path back to a state of calm and connection. Even though you may just be sitting there and talking in therapy, your body's doing a lot. As you talk about maybe that traumatic event from the past, or your relationship dysfunction, or how your parent doesn't connect with you currently, or all the above, your body is shifting into and out of various states like safety, flight, fight, shutdown, and freeze. The more you talk about things that activate a defensive state like flight, fight, shutdown, or freeze, the more time that your body is spending in that state, and the less time it's spending in its safety state. When it's in its safety state, it feels more grounded and calm and present, playful, hopeful, all the wonderful positive things that you probably want more of. Yeah, in therapy, you're likely going to discuss difficult things. That's normal. Hopefully your therapist is not pushing you into talking about difficult things or shaming you when you don't. I've heard horror stories. We should approach difficult topics only when ready, and we'll know that we're ready because we're anchored in our safety state and we feel open or curious about approaching those difficult things. So what does this look like in session, you're asking? I'm glad you asked because I like talking about this stuff a lot. In a real session, a client can anchor into safety through a whole bunch of different means. A potentially easy one is just to mindfully extend your exhale and connect with the sense of settling that comes with it. And one breath is typically enough, though this is more challenging for someone who's maybe in a really severe freeze state. Another option is to connect with something like a fidget mindfully. You can also remember a moment of safety and then describe the experience. That might be helpful. Or use your imagination and imagine a place that you would go to that feels safe. And again, mindfully connect with the experience of that. There's a bunch of choices. So regardless of the choice, though, the key is to pay attention to the felt sense of safety mindfully. So instead of just remembering a moment of safety and then like telling the narrative, the client needs to feel that safety in their body, to notice where it lives in the body, and even describe what that safety in their body feels like. We have to embody, you got to mindfully connect with that experience. Once a client is connected with safety, they can then choose to spend time with uncomfortable emotions or not. If they choose to, then we tiptoe into the discomfort. noticing how it feels in the body while discussing it. We don't push too far. That would lead to dysregulation, which would show up as increased defensive activation like panic attack or fear or rage maybe. Instead, we touch the edge of what the client can tolerate and then come back to the safety state. We mindfully check on our breathing and the felt sense of safety that we established earlier in the session or even in previous sessions and that we're building on. And we spend as much time in that safety state as needed to recover. Co-regulation cues from the therapist and the safe environment of the therapy room also add to the client's anchoring in safety, kind of like layers of safety. The edge of what one can tolerate might be really small, and that is okay. You anchor into safety, you tiptoe into what you can tolerate, and then you come back to safety. Some clients need that quick return to safety, like really quick, only after maybe a few seconds, and that's okay. And then they approach that defensive activation again with more confidence the next time. Some clients can approach defense further and faster because they have a strong enough safety baseline. Other clients need to work their way up, and that is okay. As you listen to what you can mindfully handle in therapy, and ideally as your therapist is attuned to what you can handle, you will gradually approach uncomfy things and then recover from it. This tiptoeing and then recovering builds your safety baseline and allows you to approach more uncomfy things. So to my therapiers, we need to be attuned to what our client can handle and respect that while gently challenging it and helping them grow. At the same time, as individuals navigating our own healing or self-development, we need to be incredibly attuned to what our nervous system can truly handle. We gently challenge it as we are ready to, building resilience through gently touching the edges of what we can handle and then recovering from it. This method of touching and then recovering is empowering, not depleting. It's collaborative, happening between therapist and client, not from therapist to client. When therapy is approached with this kind of client-therapist attunement and intentionality, the outcome's a lot different. You won't leave feeling utterly depleted like you've run a marathon that you weren't prepared for. Instead, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment, perhaps a bit tired, from the genuine effort, but also really proud of yourself, proud of what you've accomplished, proud of what you've explored, and genuinely relieved that you have the tools or the skill level to manage what came up and the trust in your therapist. You're building internal resources through this method, not burning them out. The expectation of being drained from therapy needs to change. You should ideally expect to feel proud of yourself, to feel accomplished, to feel like there's a path that you can follow to make a change. And you should probably expect to give yourself some downtime and to recover from the session as well. You've earned it. Therapy is not a passive process. It is active. Oh, and I told you there was one session where my client left feeling drained. It may not have been drained, but something like that. It was a coaching client. So there was this coaching client who had a really strong safety baseline. She likes doing the somatic stuff and is always eager to embrace whatever the heck is happening within her. She had been experiencing a lot of freeze activation recently, which she identified as muscle tension in her shoulders and her neck. During our somatic mindfulness practices, she successfully felt into and came out of that tension a couple of times. She noticed the tension easing in these pleasurable little discharges and increased movement and playfulness. So I asked her if she wanted to do it again, with some hesitation on my end, wondering if she was near her capacity. She, of course, said yes, since she likes to do the somatic work. I asked her if she genuinely wanted to, and if she was genuinely curious, and she said yes. So we did it again. She felt into it, into the tension. But this time on my end, I felt a distinct sense of alarm, which I feel was empathy, and I said her name. She didn't respond, and I told her, let it go, meaning let go of the exercise, like stop doing the practice. But she remained in it, and I again said, let it go, stop doing the practice, open your eyes and come back, or something like that. This time, she opened her eyes and said she felt the tension too intensely and had gotten lost in it. I asked her why she didn't respond when I first said her name, and she said that she thought I was telling her to let the emotion go or to release the tension, not to stop the practice when I said let it go. So, a little miscommunication. Another thing that came up as we were processing what had happened was that she acknowledged that even though she wanted to practice again and said yes, she wanted to, she also had a feeling of apprehension. That feeling is very, very important. Instead of feeling into the tension, we needed to focus on the apprehension a little and probably not try to push into the tension again. Anyway, the point being, both the therapist or coach and the client need to be aware of a client's limitations of what their nervous system can handle. We should be very reluctant to go too far, as it may result in dysregulation, just like it did with my client. To sum it all up, feeling drained from therapy or other professional services like coaching is common, but I don't think it needs to be common. I think we can do better in the wellness profession, no matter what that looks like. Find safety in session. Listen to what your body can handle as you gently touch the edges of your body's capacity. Then recover in safety before going too far into the felt sense and into dysregulation. Thank you so much for joining me on Stuck Not Broken. I hope this episode has helped you build some compassion for what you can handle, maybe some curiosity, and I hope that you're more open to what that feels like. I also hope you're more willing to be honest with yourself and open to your therapist or your coach about what you can and are willing to approach. Here's a little bit of homework if you're into reflecting or journaling. The question is, or the prompt is, how can you tell that you've reached your system's capacity? If you like this episode and you want to learn more about the polyvagal theory for free, and in a streamlined manner, of course, I have a free course called Your Next Steps inside the Unstucking Academy. Just follow the link in the description and you'll get a streamlined way of approaching the polyvagal theory. You'll have a checklist to learn everything one by one and get some follow-up steps from that as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening.